5 retro things that are still around if you look for them.
If you've been around for a while, and by a while I mean your birth year starts with a 19, you might remember some of these retro items on our list. Most of these items have seemingly gone the way of history, in that they aren't as prevalent as they once were, meaning years ago they were everywhere. But if you look hard enough, or on Amazon, you'll likely still be able to get your hands on them. So here are 5 retro things that are still around if you look for them.
P.S. This is not a sponsored video by any of the brands mentioned.
Welcome back to our channel, the FAQ Factory channel, where we explore random questions and research answers to those questions. I'm your host, Abby, and let me start today's video by asking you a question. Should you drink this? Well, thanks to this Mr. Yuck sticker, I know the answer is no. And this little guy, Mr. Yuck, is actually what brought about our topic. We wondered if the Mr. Yuck sticker from our childhood is still around. Well, the answer is yes. And packets can be purchased off Amazon and requested from Mr. Yuck's original creator.
In case you are watching and don't know who Mr. Yuck is, stay tuned because we're about to give you a brief history into 5 retro items, including Mr. Yuck, that were staples for Gen Xers and many millennials. Mr. Yuck. Mr. Yuck is a trademarked graphic image, which is why we're only using it for the purpose of demonstration or review. Created by UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. The idea for Mr. Yuck was introduced by a pediatrician, and the Mr. Yuck sticker, a green face with his tongue sticking out, was first developed in 1971. It became a universal symbol of something poisonous. Mr. Yuck stickers were often passed out in elementary schools, and parents were instructed to place them on any household cleaning items that should never be touched by kids, and more importantly, ones that should never be drunk. And let me tell you, this sticker was a big deal. It showed up on nearly every bottle of bleach, floor cleaner, laundry detergent, and so on. Whether you looked under your own sink or in the cabinet at your friend's house, you could always tell which bottles were the poisonous ones. And as it turns out, Mr. Yuck went through some product testing. Apparently, children at a daycare center were shown 6 different symbols on identical mouthwash bottles. The symbols included a skull and crossbones, a red stop sign, and a green scowling face. The kids were then asked to pick the bottle they would not play with. The kids were turned off by the green scowling face. As the story goes, one little boy said, quote, "He looks yucky." And those comments led to the warning symbol and character of Mr. Yuck. Mr. Yuck is actually still used in many US states and a few other countries. The stickers are usually specific to a particular region and will list the phone number for a nearby poison control center. It's a pretty good idea and quite memorable. Fruit stripe gum. Well, we've got some sad news about the next one. In a twist of fate, as we began writing the script for this video, the very next day, this news bulletin came out. That's right, fruit stripe gum is headed for actual extinction. Now, we're not about to say that this gum is the best in the world. We all know the flavor lasts for only about 0.5 seconds. But we can safely say that it is one of the most fun and attractive pieces of gum in the world. I mean, who doesn't love a good zebra stripe? Apparently, though, its parent company, Ferrara Candy, has announced that the once-beloved mainstay has been discontinued. First developed by James Parker in 1960, the fruity-flavored gum has been produced for over 50 years. There were 2 types of 5 flavor packs available. The first was a chewing gum pack with the flavors Wet n' Wild Melon, Cherry, Lemon, Orange, and Peach Smash. The other pack was bubblegum, and it came in cherry, grape, mixed fruit, lemon, and cotton candy flavors. My personal favorite. During the late 70s, there was also a chocolate version named Chocolate Stripe. The most well-known mascot of the gum is a zebra named Yipes, and his tagline was Yipes, Stripes. What made Fruit Stripes even better was the inside of the wrappers also contained temporary tattoos of Yipes skating, skateboarding, playing basketball, bicycling, snowboarding, and a whole host of other cool, fun things. All in all, it was a pretty fun, though very short-lasting, gum, and it will be missed by many as it joins so many other things in the land of nostalgia. If you can, go get your hands on a pack before it's totally gone. If I recall, the trick is to space out the pieces. So you put one in, and then about a second later, when that one loses the flavor, you put the other one in. And then that way the flavor extends for about 3 minutes. Then you have to spit the whole thing out. But you get like almost 3 minutes of good gum chewing. So there's that. And a temporary tattoo. String mitten clips. Okay, do you know what I mean when I say string mitten clips? If you do, you probably only remember using them as a child when playing out in the snow, or when sent to school with strict instructions to bring everything back home that you went with. They were a pretty genius invention, really, and came in 2 different types. One version was the full string and clips. This kind had a string that went through your jacket sleeves, and then each end had a clip that attached to your mittens, ensuring that you never lost a mitten, even if you took the mittens off and didn't shove them into your pocket. The second version was very similar, except there was no string, just 2 clips. One that clipped to the mitten, and the other clip attached to the cuff of your jacket. For small children who tend to lose things, they were great. Well, it turns out similar items are still available, and while not exactly the same old school version we remember, the idea is the same. So if you have small children, you may want to check a pair of these out, especially if you live in a cold environment. Speaking of cold weather, if you haven't already, check out our last video on 8 most common questions asked about snow. And while you're at it, if you are enjoying the video, please consider giving it a like and comment and subscribing to our channel for more fun fact-filled videos. Gum cigarettes. If you are a member of a younger generation, you may not realize that one of the most popular art class crafts and popular Mother's or Father's Day gift back in the day was a homemade ashtray. We kid you not. The reason is that as recently as 20 years ago, lots of people smoked. And even if your parents didn't, your grandparents most likely definitely did. It was just a different time. And they didn't fully know the harmful effects that cigarettes and secondhand smoke could have on people. And because cigarettes didn't have the bad reputation that they do today, even the kids got in on the smoking fun. Thus, candy cigarettes, and even more fun, bubblegum cigarettes. The fun of these bubblegum cigarettes was that the wrapper was filled with fine sugar, so that when you blew into it, a puff of smoke would come out at the end. Very realistic. Many bus rides home from school were filled with conversations and the sweet smell of bubblegum, surrounded by a cloud of white sugar. Knowing what we know about cigarettes now, it's probably not a candy you want to promote to really young kids. But if you're craving some nostalgia or want to give this retro treat a try, a quick internet search will give you access to a variety of sites where you can order a pack. Reebok Pump sneakers. The Reebok Pump is a line of athletic shoes that was first released on November 24th, 1989. It was the first ever shoe to have an internal inflation system that regulated a cushion in the tongue to provide locking around the ankle. The pump was a basketball-shaped circle on the tongue of the shoe. And considering basketball felt like the sport of the 90s, these shoes were cool. If you played basketball, the pumps were the ones to have. They even outpaced the Air Jordans in popularity during its early success. And even if you didn't play basketball, pumps were still a hot ticket. Dee Brown, who played for the Celtics at the time, inflated his Reebok Pumps in front of a national audience before winning the 1991 NBA Slam Dunk Contest. The shoe line then expanded into cross-training, golf, walking, running shoes, aerobic, and off-road shoes. The pump technology was patented in May of 1992. And while the pump faded from the limelight in the later part of the 90s, it made a resurgence in 2004 after John Cena wore them as part of his old school hip hop gimmick. Can't see me. I think he does that. Did that. The ATR, above the rim pump, was introduced in 2005 during the NBA All-Star Weekend. And with the resurgence of retro fashions, today the pump sneaker is still featured on Reebok's website. Styles include high and low tops with retro styling and the old school flair. Three-wheelers. A precursor to the four-wheeler or quad, the three-wheeler was an outdoor ATV vehicle that most who rode them look back on with fond memories of fun times and probably lots of injuries. The problem or main flaw with the three-wheeler is its small size. It's unsteady, so it has to be small to allow for a rider's weight transfer to act as a counterweight balance. But because of its small size, it also makes it easy for small kids to reach all the controls. Parents were of a different breed back then, and the rule in our friends and family group was you had to be 10 to ride the three-wheeler. But because most kids around this age barely weigh 60 pounds, they weren't heavy enough to counterbalance. That means the vehicles would therefore tip over even at low speeds. It's actually a little bit of a shocking statistic, but according to an article in the New York Times in 1988, three-wheelers were associated with more than 300,000 injuries and 1,000 deaths from 1983 to 1988. That's only 5 years. In 1988, the manufacturers of the ATVs signed a consent decree with the United States government that ended the sales of the tipsy ATV design. While many 90s kids have fond memories of these outdoor adventure vehicles, it's probably for the best that they made their exit. So, granted, new three-wheelers aren't being sold, unless you count these, which technically do have a motor and 3 wheels. If you look hard enough, you can find some old ones for sale. Just remember to also buy a helmet. All right, friends, that's the end of our exploration into some fun retro items. We hope it brought up some fond memories of bubblegum, injuries, self-made tie-dye shirts. For those of you who are old enough to have experienced them decades ago now. And if you're a bit younger, then maybe you want to find some of these items to experience them for yourself. Get the fruit stripe gum before it's gone. If you enjoyed the video and love learning new and interesting things, subscribe to our channel for more random fact-filled content and give us a like below. Also, leave us a comment on any interesting memories you may have of these items. And as always, don't forget to keep questioning. See you next time.